This is ABC7 News at 6.
The president has made his choice. A likable lawyer who's won praise from both sides of the aisle. A rock-solid conservative named to the nation's highest court. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pete Wilson.
And I'm Jessica Gary. The president makes a choice, a decision that could trigger a tumultuous battle over the direction of the nation's highest court. The president's first nominee, Judge John G. Roberts, Jr. Roberts is just 50 years old and has been on the federal bench for only 2 years, appointed by President Bush. Roberts is currently on the U.S. Appeals Court in Washington, D.C., which often deals with important constitutional issues. He's a former private attorney who's argued 39 cases in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Although Roberts has the shortest legal track record, we do know he is a practicing Catholic with strong conservative credentials. Liberals, though, say he's taken positions that endanger free speech and religious liberty. Abortion rights groups call him hostile to women's reproductive freedom. A contrasting portrait sure to set off a confirmation fight.
John Roberts has devoted his entire professional life to the cause of justice and is widely admired for his intellect, his sound judgment, and personal decency.
Judge John G. Roberts, Jr. was chosen to replace Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who announced her retirement earlier this month. O'Connor is still on the court and will remain in her post until a successor is chosen or confirmed.
So will there be a war over all of this? Roberts is currently on the U.S. Appeals Court in Washington, D.C., which often deals with important constitutional issues. Let's continue. He's a former private attorney who has argued 33 cases in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, we have a reaction for you tonight from across the political spectrum. Joining us live from Berkeley, well, let's get to that in a second. We should go to...
We do. We are. Joining us live from Berkeley is one of the Bay Area's top experts on the Supreme Court, Bolt Hall professor Jesse Choper.
And as well, Eva Patterson, a member of the Californians for Fair and Independent Judges and an advocate for abortion rights. And in Sacramento, Randy Thomason of the Campaign for Children and Families. He's a leading spokesperson for the Right to Life movement. Professor Choper, if we could start with you. You watch these things very carefully. Your reaction tonight?
Well, my reaction is that it's totally unsurprising. John Roberts has been on the short list since Justice O'Connor announced her retirement, and even before, when there was speculation that Chief Justice Rehnquist would step down. And he is a very strong nominee in terms of what President Bush has been looking for. He fits all the qualifications, and he probably, one of the qualifications is to be confirmed, I don't know, without a war, maybe some battles and some skirmishes, but he is in a position to get confirmed without a battle, possibly.
All right, let's bring in Eva Patterson into this. Eva, Roberts has said before that the Roe versus Wade is the law of the land, but a lot of abortion rights activists are very concerned about his position on Roe versus Wade, and I know that you're also concerned about civil liberties with Roberts.
When he was Deputy Solicitor General, he wrote in a brief saying that Roe versus Wade was wrong and should be overturned. As a lawyer, of course, you have to say Roe versus Wade is the law of the land, but when you're on the Supreme Court, you get to overturn it if you don't like it, and he said he didn't. When he was in the D.C. Circuit,
Much more distinct paper trail.
Eva Patterson, finally, if you could, is this... obviously, it's not the best choice you would have made. Is it the worst choice that could have been made in your view?
No, to be frank, all day we've been like screaming about different people who would be nominated. This isn't the worst choice. In fact, it's a brilliant choice. I have to agree with my common law professor, Jesse Choper. But I think the important point is that the Senate has to use its advise and consent function and ask hard questions of Justice Roberts. I think there's some disagreement about where he stands on choice. The American people are pro-choice. They don't want Roe versus Wade overturned. So we think our senators have to really get in there and exercise their constitutional duty to ask hard questions. We have to look at this man carefully. He's going to be making the laws for decades to come.
And Mr. Thomason, one last question for you. Given his position on what he said about Roe versus Wade, that he would honor the law of the land, do you think that Roberts is conservative enough for you?
You know, I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm going to disagree with Eva. She said he's going to be making the law. That is the wrong thing for judges to do. Judges have to follow the law. We're government of the people, And so the judges that are pushing their own views, going against what is written in the Constitution, those are activist judges. I hope that this justice will be on the bench interpreting the Constitution based upon what it says rather than what he thinks it means, because that's a special interest agenda, not the role of a judge.
All right, thank you very much.
We want to thank all of you again. Eva Patterson, member of the Californians for Fair and Independent Judges, an advocate for abortion rights. Jesse Choper, Professor Jesse Choper of Bolt Hall, and in Sacramento, Randy Thomason of the Campaign for Children and Families.
Well, as the Senate begins to look at the president's nominee, the abortion debate will play a prominent role. You've been hearing it discussed tonight. Both sides tonight, we have found distorted facts in their arguments. ABC7's political reporter Mark Matthews joins us with a fact check. Mark?
In the Senate, a couple of senators weighing in on the abortion issue, Democrat Barbara Boxer and Republican Rick Santorum, both having a say. And as we are going to see in this fact check, both of them getting some of their facts wrong. On July 5th, Senator Barbara Boxer came to San Francisco and told reporters that overturning Roe v. Wade would cost the lives of thousands of pregnant women.
Many researchers estimated that before Roe, at least 5,000 women a year died from botched abortions.
Fact check, that 5,000 death figure comes from a 1936 study, before the invention of penicillin and before birth control pills. In 1969, a leading expert on abortion trends wrote that it was plausible that 5,000 women a year died in the 1930s, but concluded that it cannot be anywhere near the true rate at the end of the 1960s. Roe v. Wade legalized abortion in 1973.
A minimum of 5,000 women a year will die, and that's just a fact.
Fact check? No, it's not. It's a fact 70 years out of date. On the anti-abortion front, supporters are championed by Republican Senator Rick Santorum of Pennsylvania. In his new book, Santorum writes that a number of social ills got much worse after Roe was decided in 1973. Santorum writes that the birth rate among unmarried women increased, children living in poverty increased, along with child abuse and domestic violence. Fact check, we could find no reliable statistics on an increase for child abuse or domestic violence, and Santorum's staff did not respond to several requests for documentation to support his claims. He also said that suicides by desperate women got much worse since abortion was made legal. Fact check, government reports say suicides among women have dropped between 34 and 41% since 1973. Santorum also claimed that crime has increased. Fact check, the FBI reports the overall rate of crime is actually down 2%, lower than it was in '73. The Bureau of Justice statistics show an even steeper decline in crime. And these false claims by both sides show that truth is already a casualty in the confirmation battle. A lot is being made of the timing of today's announcement. The Republicans, as we reported last week, part of their strategy, hoping that the president's nomination would push the Karl Rove CIA identity leaking story off the front page. We'll have to see if that happens, but certainly the announcement coming today is much sooner than we expected. Our partner in Fact Check is the University of Pennsylvania's Annenberg Public Policy Center's factcheck.org. To check out the full report, go to our website at abc7news.com and click on Fact Check.
Well, if the spin so far in its attachment to the facts has anything to say here, it's going to be much worse over the next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mark.
We have breaking local news to cover as well for you tonight. Coming up next, a fire that has spread across hundreds of acres of dry rangeland in the East Bay. We'll have a live report for you in just a moment.
Spencer Christian here in the AccuWeather Forecast Center. Temperatures still down around the normal range. When will it heat up again? I'll have the answer when I return with the AccuWeather 7-day forecast.
And later tonight, a new milestone for Bay Area real estate. The factors that are driving home prices through the roof.
Brought to you in part by Sleep Train Mattress Centers. Your ticket to a better night's sleep.
As we've been telling you this evening, firefighters are working two large Bay Area fires right now, one in the South Bay and one in the East Bay. Now let's start near Livermore, where more than 1,000 acres of grassland is burning east of Tesla and Greenville roads. And ABC7's Laura Anthony is there for us tonight. Laura.
Well, Pete, I am at the intersection of Greenville and Tesla. This fire is a couple of miles behind me to the east. It's the largest of at least 3 fires that have been sparked in this area this afternoon. Let's show you what it looks like now live from Sky 7. Firefighters have been battling this blaze for the better part of 2 hours. They've called for mutual aid, that is help from surrounding communities. In the last few minutes, we've seen fire engines from as far away as Fremont and Hayward and the California Department of Forestry all arriving here to try to help out with this blaze. As we've said, it is mostly grassland, and we understand at this point there are no structures immediately threatened, although there are scattered ranch homes in this area. It is a wind-driven fire. They have called for some aerial support, that is tankers to drop water and fire retardant on this blaze. There are several here, but they would like some more. However, as I said, this is one of at least 3 fires in this area. There's another one in the Byron area near Discovery Bay, and there was a smaller fire earlier today also out on the Altamont Pass area. And again, as we said, at this point, no structures immediately threatened. We understand the fire is moving to the east, and we will be keeping an eye on it and standing by here for you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura. Let's take you to another grass fire that started late this afternoon in Santa Clara County, spread to a business that fixes race cars. That fire started about 2 hours ago just off State Highway 17 near East McGlincy Lane. ABC7's Eric Rosales is there live with the latest. Eric?
Well, white smoke at this hour has replaced much of the black smoke that was billowing out into the air over the city of Campbell just a few hours ago. And that is definitely good news, because it appears that firefighters are gaining somewhat of a control over this fire. They say that the area is filled with a number of 50-gallon drums filled with oil and gasoline. It appears to have started along Highway 17, possibly from a thrown cigarette. Flames went up the embankment and caught a number of businesses on fire, including Kading Performance, where they manufacture race cars. I happened to talk with one of the workers who tried to get out as many cars as possible, but the flames were just too much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the race car side of the business, the race car motors are $40,000 a piece. And currently there was 4 race cars sitting in the shop, all valued at probably without the motor. With the motors, probably $60,000 each.
Disappointing?
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
I just spoke with firefighters. They say that they are continuing to take a defensive approach about this fire because they are so concerned with the number of fuels. They have actually placed a number of fire crews along the area, along the street, just in case it happens to refuel again. So they are definitely taking a defensive approach. This is an industrial area, and they're advising people that live in the area to stay inside their homes and take shelter until they gain absolute control of this blaze. Reporting live in Campbell, Eric Rosales, ABC7 News.
All right, thank you very much, Eric. We're talking fires. Now we're going to talk storm. Emily.
Yeah, Emily, and of course the conditions here that are not helping that fire either. Spencer?
You're right about that, Pete. Well, Emily is now a Category 3 hurricane and gaining strength. Maximum sustained winds right now 125 miles per hour, gusts to 155, and it's moving towards the west-northwest at 12 miles per hour, headed towards the northeastern corner of Mexico, just south of the southern tip of Texas. Let's track the storm for you. It's expected to gain strength and become a Category 4 hurricane, actually, before making landfall tomorrow, or overnight, I should say, later tonight and into the early morning hours, right around San Fernando, Mexico, just south of Brownsville, Texas. That'll happen at about 1 a.m. as a Category 4 hurricane. Texas, southern Texas may feel some gusty winds around hurricane force level, but the brunt of this storm will be felt by Mexico as it travels inland almost on a due westward path, still as a hurricane for some distance before it weakens to tropical storm strength late tomorrow, and we'll continue to follow that storm for you as it's a potentially very dangerous storm. Now, for the heat here in the western U.S., we have not quite the intense heat in most locations we had yesterday, but still quite hot today. High temperatures 107 in Redding, 105 in Fresno, 110 in Palm Springs, 111 in Phoenix, and Las Vegas tied its all-time record high temperature, 117 degrees. In fact, several other records broken in Vegas today because of the extended heat and the number of consecutive days of temperatures at 115 or above. Meanwhile, here in the Bay Area, in fact, all along the California coast, we have the coastal fog and its cooling effect, but certainly here in the Bay Area, we're feeling its cooling effect this afternoon. A strong sea breeze, a nice onshore flow, held high temperatures down to the normal level, so we didn't have any extremes today. Here's how the fog looked by way of time-lapse photography from our Mount Tam camera looking down towards Sausalito. You can see the flow of coastal clouds and fog moving through the Golden Gate, asserting its cooling influence. Now, tomorrow, things will look very much like today. In the South Bay, we'll see high temperatures mainly from the upper 70s to the upper 80s, maybe up to about 90 at Los Gatos, which will be the warm spot in the South Bay. On the peninsula, we'll see highs ranging from about 72 at Millbrae up to 79 at Los Altos, low to mid-60s on the coast, so a mild day there. In and around San Francisco, a range of 61 to 69 degrees, so 60s there. Up to the North Bay, we'll see 70s in many locations that have seen 80s and low 90s of late. But way up north to Clear Lake and Ukiah, we'll see 100 to 101. On the East Bay, highs mainly in the 70s in the near East Bay, but over the hills and into the inland valleys and out towards the Delta, we'll see mainly upper 80s to low 90s. And around Monterey Bay, a wide range from upper 60s and low 70s near the bay to upper 80s to near 90 inland. Here's the AccuWeather 7-day forecast. Temperatures dropping off a couple more degrees on Thursday. We had a little cooling there. Then increasing again on Friday, and Saturday and Sunday we'll see warmer inland readings in the mid to upper 90s before tapering off again early next week into the low to mid 90s. This is mainly a temperature range that's in the seasonal range, so no extremes here. Maybe a little bit of a bump up over the weekend, but nothing very extreme.
Well, we could go out to Death Valley if we want extremes.
Oh, that's 129 today in Death Valley.
Now it's getting close to the record again.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
Well, still ahead tonight, new at 6:30, Democrats lodge a formal complaint against the governor over his $1 million moonlighting job, why his critics won't let this one go away.
The National Guard put to rest any notion that it's been spying on little old ladies, but why did they need a lawyer to say it for them?
And later the BART vote. Will BART's union workers approve a contract that doesn't give them the raise they wanted this year?
On the next all-new Tony Danza show, don't miss Tony's emotional interview with CNN's Nancy Grace.
I'm looking for my tissue. You make me start crying.
There's July, too.
Good evening again. I'm Jessica Aguirre.
And I'm Pete Wilson. In the rarefied and frankly sometimes nasty air of California's capital, almost anything can become a federal case, as they used to say. Even though the governor has canceled his multi-million-dollar moonlighting job with a large health and fitness company, Democrats are hollering scandal. ABC7's Capitol correspondent Annette Miranda joins us live from Sacramento with the latest on this. Annette?
That's right, Pete. The Fair Political Practices Commission is a state watchdog that keeps an eye on politicians and the money around them. Violations could hurt politicians financially, and their public image could take a beating.
Okay, the California Democratic Party filed the paperwork this afternoon. The party accuses the governor of violating conflict of interest and gift laws when he agreed to take $8 million as a consultant for 2 fitness magazines.
One is it's illegal to be raising this kind of money as governor for personal reasons. It's against state law.
The governor backed out of his magazine contract last week under pressure, but that clearly was not enough for Democrats. The complaint accuses him of publishing articles in Muscle and Fitness and Flex for money, and then vetoing a bill that would have placed regulations on the dietary supplements industry, which heavily advertises in those magazines. The Democratic Party also says Schwarzenegger exceeded the $360 limit on gifts. His spokeswoman today said the complaint is just a ploy to divert attention away from the governor's agenda.
The governor was willing to move swiftly to put this issue to rest so that we could move ahead and focus on those issues that are important to the people of California, which is hopefully getting a bipartisan legislative agreement on the ballot in November.
The governor could be fined from $5,000 up to the amount in question. The Fair Political Practices Commission could also refer the complaint to the Sacramento County District Attorney or the Attorney General's Office for criminal charges. Schwarzenegger yesterday joked about what giving up that money meant.
Well, I have no problem about the money, but my wife had a little problem with that. She was worried that means less diamonds every year or something like that.
It's absurd. I mean, we need a serious governor, and this governor's working is far too immature for this.
The commission is under no timetable to decide the fate of that complaint. Meanwhile, the California Democratic Party also wants the governor to give back all the monies to the magazines that he received before canceling that contract. Live in Sacramento, Nanette Miranda, ABC7 News.
We're sure to hear more about this. All right, thank you very much, Nanette. A widening investigation tonight into reports that a California National Guard unit may have been spying on anti-war demonstrators. Leaders of the Guard appeared before a state Senate committee today that wants to know about possible misappropriation of money and whether the Guard went after whistleblowers. ABC7's William Monroe has more.
Leaders of the California National Guard showed up to the state Senate hearing with lawyers from outside the government. That alone raised questions.
Why it is that the National Guard has to retain outside counsel to answer some very plain questions from the legislature over the expenditure of the state's funds.
This was the day the National Guard was supposed to produce a host of documents relating to published reports that the Guard maintained a domestic surveillance unit targeting California citizens. Some groups reported to have been targets of surveillance included participants of a Mother's Day anti-war rally in Sacramento.
I was just really spun to disbelief and felt my civil liberties were being violated.
The Guard's lawyer, George O'Connell, was unequivocal.
As I said up there, that the Guard unequivocally states that it does not conduct domestic intelligence activities. And that's in the letter that we sent to the committee.
And there's no question about that in any kind of...
As unequivocally as I know how to say it.
But a large number of documents have not been produced, and State Senator Joe Dunn says he's skeptical about Guard efforts to recover computerized records of a key Guard official that were destroyed.
No disrespect to the Guard, I believe we should do that, since it was the Guard itself that actually erased that information.
Dunn said since news of the original allegations surfaced, he's received information from sources inside and outside the Guard that have prompted him to expand the probe to include misappropriation of money and retaliation against those who've reported wrongdoing. Senator Dunn says he'll continue to pursue the documents and evidence that still exist. But if he doesn't get what he wants, his next step will be contempt hearings as early as later this summer. In Sacramento, Willie Monroe, ABC7 News.
Willie, thank you. An al-Qaeda-linked group that claims responsibility for the London terror attacks is threatening to strike again. The web statement attributed to the Abu Haf al-Masri Brigade. They vow to bomb the capitals of European countries with troops in Iraq if they do not remove those troops by next month. That would include Denmark, Holland, Britain, and Italy. The authenticity of today's statement hasn't been verified, and people doubt their original claim of responsibility for those bombings in London. A report leaked to the New York Times says British counterintelligence played down the threat of a terror attack in the weeks before the London bombings. The report concluded there wasn't a group with either the intent or the capability to attack the UK British government agencies, and they received the briefing just 3 weeks before the attacks. Well, the briefing was wrong. Also today, Prime Minister Blair met with 25 Muslim leaders and urged them to weed out the extremists who've been radicalizing young followers in his country.
Well, back here at home, your house is probably worth $100,000 more tonight than it was last year. Coming up next, the factors that are driving up Bay Area home prices, and are there signs of a real estate bubble that may be about to burst?
And one of San Francisco's most famous hotels going condo, controversial new plans for the Fairmont Hotel.
Test your knowledge on Jeopardy! On the map, 2 of the 4 countries that border Thailand.
Think you know the correct question? Find out only on the next Jeopardy!
Tonight at 7, here on ABC7. Here's what's featured on ABC7News.com.
Hewlett-Packard is restructuring to become more competitive with Dell and IBM. The Palo Alto-based company is cutting more than 14,000 jobs. HP's new chief executive, Mark Hurd, is eliminating 10% of the workforce, mostly support staff in human resources, information technology, and finance. Tech analysts predict as many as 3,000 Bay Area HP employees might get laid off. HP will also overhaul its retirement plan, and new employees can expect less benefits than veterans.
When you've got a strong leader, it really helps if the company can follow the lead, and HP was in a bureaucratic mess where often it was in its own way. In fact, most of the time it got into its own way. So this hopefully will fix that.
Another reason HP is cutting costs is to boost its sagging stock price. Today, its stock fell 40 cents to close at $24.52.
BART workers are wrapping up their vote right now on that new contract offer. Members of BART's 2 largest unions will be casting their ballots until 7:30 on the deal management and union leaders approved earlier this month. The contract includes a 7% raise over 3 years, but there's been grumbling by the rank and file. They say the deal doesn't include a raise in the first year.
450 people short. We have more people working overtime. It's not a good deal.
We worked long hours, and we're, a lot of good, honest people on that team, and we worked hard to get the best we could for our members.
A strike could begin as early as this weekend if workers reject the contract, but union leaders say that probably wouldn't happen. They'd likely try to resume negotiations before they'd actually strike.
Bay Area real estate is a lot like the weather in many areas. Hot, hot, hot. New figures out today show the median price of a Bay Area home, both houses and condos, has topped $600,000 for the first time. That's up 2.5% from May and more than 18% since last year. Contra County has seen the biggest increase, with the median price of a home jumping $100,000. Real estate agents have noticed that some homes are beginning to sit on the market a little longer, but not by much. One expert says he doesn't expect the bubble to burst, but perhaps flatten out. $600,000, pardon me.
$600,000 is an overall figure for the Bay Area, but there is quite a range county by county. Prices range from a low of $558,000 in Contra Costa County, a 21.8% increase over last year, 21.8%, to a high of $815,000 in Marin, Alameda County, Santa Clara County, San Mateo, San Francisco, and Marin, all recording double-digit increases in price since last June.
A San Francisco supervisor wants to put the brakes on plans to convert part of the landmark Fairmont Hotel to condos. The owners of the hotel have caused quite a fuss among city leaders. The main part of the hotel would remain as it is, but the tower would become residential housing. Landmark hotels in other cities, including New York, have already made that kind of a switch. The proposal introduced today by Supervisor Aaron Peskin would ban such conversions.
Well, just ahead, an incredible adventure at sea. You'll hear from some people who got a lot more than they bargained for when they sailed for San Francisco on surfboards.
At ABC7, we value education. That's why we're proud to salute those students who achieved their high school's top academic ranking. They are the best of the class of 2005.
Need help becoming a parent? Caring experts at Pacific Fertility Center provide you with state-of-the-art fertility solutions, including IVF, ICSI, PGD, and egg donation. Take advantage of their internationally recognized laboratory and excellent success rate. Take the next step and call for your free phone consultation today. Call 888-834-3095 or go to infertilitydoctor.com.
We have amazing pictures tonight of a sport that you may have heard of but never watched closely. It's called kiteboarding. It involves a man, a small surfboard, a parasail, and a goal from Point Reyes around the Farallones into San Francisco Bay. ABC7's Wayne Friedman takes us along.
It's an obscure Oakland warehouse that may someday become a landmark, not just because of the soundproof doors and the fact that Journey once recorded here, but because Chip Wasson works here and because of what he may someday yet accomplish.
I like to get out on the water.
Out as in beyond the gate, way beyond where he and two buddies went a couple of weeks ago. Out and above on kiteboards to the extreme.
You can fly into the air, you can speed across the water, power through your turns.
It was an amazingly difficult undertaking from Point Reyes around the Farallones and into San Francisco Bay over open Pacific water with sharks literally beneath their feet. The first sign of problems when Steve Gibson lost his board. A chase boat retrieved it and he resumed. Then, a few minutes later, bigger trouble. 15-foot swells and 40-knot winds ripped off one side of Wasson's harness.
Keep an eye on him because he might just pull the cord.
In what is normally a safe sport, he spent 3 minutes out of control, dragged through the water at 20 knots or more by his runaway kite.
And I couldn't get to my safety equipment, and I was slowly drowning. I thought it might have been my day.
It wasn't, obviously, because he lived to tell about it. Point Reyes to the Farallones to San Francisco by kiteboard, still unconquered.
Yeah, and I you know, hey, if someone else gets to it before us, more power to them. They'll be in for a nice ride.
From Oakland, Wayne Friedman, ABC7 News.
Impressive.
Let's go to Spencer now, an AccuWeather update.
All right, Pete and Jessica, there's still a lot of heat in the interior west. Look at some of these high temperature readings today. Las Vegas, 117 degrees, tied its all-time record high. 107 in Redding, 105 in Fresno, 110 at Palm Springs, 111 at Phoenix. And are you ready for this? Death Valley, 129 degrees in Death Valley. Well, things are much cooler here in the Bay Area. We have our Coastal fog, it's generating a steady onshore breeze, and that held temperatures down to normal levels today. It looks like for the next couple of days we'll have temperatures in the normal range. Here's the AccuWeather 7-day forecast. High temperatures inland tomorrow, about 94 in the very warmest spots, down to around 92 on Thursday. That's in the seasonal range. Up a couple of degrees on Friday. Then we get more warming over the weekend. Saturday and Sunday we'll see a little bit of an increase in the heat inland. Notice coastal highs remain right around 60 degrees, and then temperatures taper off.
ABC7 listens. Yours
get up to $3,000 cash back. You better get on the move to your Bay Area Mazda dealer now.
The Thunder Strike jackpot is paying more than ever. Lottie won over $147,000. And she got another $50,000 for playing a dollar machine.
I was the first Thunder Strike jackpot winner and won over $64,000.
And you can win an extra $50,000 when you play dollar machines or higher, any day, anytime.
Or you can add a $50,000 bonus when you play any machine between midnight and 8 a.m.
$115,000, oh my God.
When we choose an 800 Dentist member, we look for someone we would recommend to our friends and family, like Dr. Hale.
Hey, look at these babies.
So cute.
We want dentists you'll be comfortable with.
Hi, Uncle Fred.
Hi, darling. Ones that we can recommend to you with confidence.
Gotta keep the smile right.
I love this dentist.
I told you. So why not call us right now?
Is this the place?
That's it.
They're 9 out-of-control kids.
Get out!
Sent to this radical camp by their desperate parents.
We don't know what else to do.
Hoping to set them straight.
I'm not upset about anything but being here.
Now, some are breaking down.
I can't do this anymore.
Some are breaking out.
Run!
But others are breaking through.
No one's going to be there to lift you up. The only person that's going to do that is yourself.
See the show being called Riveting Television.
Oh my God!
All new Brad Camp, Wednesday 9/8 Central, only on ABC.
The president's pick for the nation's highest court tonight on ABC7 News at 11. We'll take a closer look at the man selected to succeed Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. More on John Roberts' record and why he has abortion rights groups worried. Also, violence in Iraq isn't only on the streets, it's also in the hospitals. Why hundreds of doctors in Baghdad have gone on strike. We'll have those stories and more tonight on ABC7 News at 11. We hope you join us.
Words we haven't said that often this year. The Giants are trying to rebound. We have said that often.
Hey, don't do it like that, Pete. No, hey, they got
negative.
Exactly. We're going to be positive. They opened the first half with 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers. The second half.
That's true. That's true.
So this is a good thing. Yeah, Giants are sending their top gun, Jason Smith. He's going against Atlanta's Horacio Ramirez. Yeah, they're looking to rebound, Pete, from a 6-1 loss in the series opener. There is some good news. Reliever Armando Benitez running well ahead of schedule, healing that torn hamstring. He is expecting return this season. Now, Atlanta also has a familiar face in their rotation. Remember former Oakland A's Tim Hudson? Huddy won 92 games in 6 years with the A's in March. Of course, he was traded and signed a 4-year, $47 million contract with Atlanta, the team he grew up rooting for, but he still misses the Bay Area.
It's good being here, man. You know, I've seen a lot of familiar faces. I've been able to, see some people that I hadn't seen since last year. Yesterday during batting practice, there was a lot of A's jerseys in the stands, and, signed a lot of autographs and was able to chat with some people and stuff.
One of the 3 amigos, now just an amigo. Lance Armstrong maintains a comfortable lead after today's final Tour de France stage in the Pyrenees, barring an accident or some other disaster. Armstrong's ride into Paris Sunday is going to be an unprecedented 7th straight Tour de France victory parade. The last of the high mountain stages featured 4 climbing sections. Today's stage marred when a roadside fan waving a thunder stick hit a rider in the face. Audrey Chaskakin had to finish with a bloodied nose. Meanwhile, Lance, well, hey, he comfortably matched the main rival attacks and cruised to finish in the peloton. Spain's Oscar Pereiro won a 4-rider sprint to win the stage, his first of the Tour. But, folks, Lance Armstrong retains the leader's yellow jersey. He's got nearly a 3-minute lead over Ivan Basso. The Detroit Pistons coach Larry Brown marriage is over. Lasted 2 years. The Pistons brought out the final 3 years of his 5-year, $25 million contract. They tired of his flirting with other job offers. The 64-year-old Brown led him to the NBA championship in 2004, came within a win of back-to-back titles. The New York Knicks have coveted Brown. They reportedly are going to offer him a 5-year, $50 million deal. Detroit will pursue Flip Sanders. Is that a win-win deal? Sounds like a win for Larry Brown. Australian Open champion Serena Williams pulled out of next week's Bank of the West Classic at Stanford. Now, Serena says she hasn't fully recovered from an ankle injury that hampered her at Wimbledon. Serena's sister Venus, who won Wimbledon, will be at the Bank of the West, as will be defending champ Lindsay Davenport.